Today, we're diving into a massive story of movement, of survival, and of a state that's practically become a synonym for migration, Bihar. We're going to unpack this huge, multi-generational exodus that has shaped not just Bihar, but really the entire country. And we're basing all of this on some pretty exhaustive studies and data.
Okay, let's just start with this one sentence. It cuts right to the heart of everything. For millions of people, migration isn't about chasing a dream or finding a better life. No, it is the only way to stay alive. It's a survival strategy, plain and simple, born out of pure distress.
So to really understand why millions are leaving, we first have to understand the place they're leaving behind. And with Bihar, you're looking at a pretty painful paradox.
I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's wild. You have ancient Bihar, a global powerhouse of knowledge, home to places like Nalanda University. People used to come to Bihar from all over the world. But today, it's a completely different story. It's known for poverty, a lack of industry, and serious underdevelopment. The very place people once flocked to, its own people are now forced to flee.
So what are the forces actually driving this incredible movement of people? I mean, what is it that's literally pushing them out from their homes and villages? Let's break it down.
And the term experts use for this is push factors. It's not just one thing, it's this whole combination of pressures, a complex web that makes staying put almost impossible.
And this slide really spells it out. First, you've got economic despair, just not enough jobs. Then you've got these deep-rooted social issues like the caste system, which can really limit opportunities. On top of that, there's the failure of basic infrastructure, poor schools, struggling hospitals. And then the final layer is the environment itself. North Bihar is constantly getting flooded, while the south is often hit by drought. It's a perfect storm, really.
And the thing is, this isn't some new story. This timeline shows that migration has been part of Bihar's DNA for centuries. It started with Mughals recruiting for their armies, but the British, they scaled it up massively, sending Biharis as indentured labor all across their empire. And that pattern just continued. After independence, they were needed to power the farms of the Green Revolution, and now they're the ones building India's modern cities. The destinations keep changing, but that fundamental flow of people leaving, that continues.
Okay, so we've seen why people are pushed out, but where are they all going? What's the promise that pulls them towards these distant places?
This table gives us a really clear map of where people are going. The big cities, Delhi, Mumbai, they pull in workers for construction. Punjab needs labor for its farms. But it's not just about the job sector. The real pull is the hope of a regular wage, a life that isn't tied to the farm, maybe better schools for your kids. It's the dream of upward mobility that just isn't available back home. And you know what's crucial? The social networks. The first migrants who go, they help the next wave find a place to stay, find a job. They make the whole terrifying process just a little bit more possible.
But, and this is a big but, that promise of a new life often comes with a really dark side. This quote just lays bare the harsh reality. Almost everyone is working in the informal sector. That means no contracts, no job security, no benefits. They are the absolute backbone of the urban economy, but they are also its most vulnerable, most exploited members.
And yet, despite all those hardships, the money these migrants send back home is, and I'm not exaggerating, a lifeline for Bihar. This flow of cash has completely reshaped the state's economy. Just look at this number, 96%. Let that sink in for a second. 96% of rural households in Bihar get money from a family member who's migrated. This isn't just some extra cash. It's the primary way almost everyone back home survives. And this chart breaks it down even more. For the poorest families, that money sent home makes up over 40% of their entire income. That's way more than they make from farming. So what this means is that Bihar has become what economists call a remittance-led economy. Basically, the state isn't running on its own industries anymore. It's being propped up by the money sent in from outside by its own absent sons and daughters.
But while that economic lifeline keeps families afloat, it comes at a huge social cost. What happens to the families, the communities, and especially the women who were left behind when so many of the men leave?
Well, it leads to this phenomenon that researchers call the feminization of agriculture. As the men leave for the cities, it's the women who are left to manage everything: the land, the home, the family. In fact, in the districts with the highest migration, female-headed households now make up over 20% of the population. That is a massive social shift happening in every single village.
Just think about the sheer burden on these women. They become the farmer, the accountant, the primary parent. They have to do it all. They're handling every crisis, from a failed crop to a sick kid, all while dealing with the emotional stress of having a family that's split apart.
But here's where it gets complicated. You'd think all this new responsibility would lead to empowerment, right? But the reality is, true power doesn't always shift. Deep-rooted patriarchal norms mean that for the really big decisions, like selling land or arranging a marriage, the absent husband, usually over a quick phone call, still gets the final say. So a bigger workload doesn't automatically mean real empowerment.
So, with this incredibly complex reality, what does the future look like? I mean, this isn't a problem you can just solve. It's a reality that needs to be managed, and managed with dignity and with foresight.
And that brings us to one of the most critical yet overlooked consequences of all this, the political one. When millions of your working-age citizens are not physically in their home state, what happens to their political voice?
Think about it like this. It's really hard for an NRI to fly back to India just to vote, right? Well, it's pretty much impossible for a daily wage laborer from Bihar working in Delhi to lose several days' pay, plus spend a ton of money on travel just to cast one ballot. And this creates a huge democratic deficit, where the very people who are most affected by state policies have absolutely no say in them.
So what can be done? The evidence points to a few key strategies. First, you have to strengthen local employment schemes like MGNRG to give people a reason to stay. Second, promote climate-smart agriculture. Making farming more resilient has been shown to reduce distress migration by over 20%. And third, and this is so important, invest in women's literacy and skills. When you empower them, you empower the whole community.
And that leaves us with this final question. Migration is how rural Bihar survives. It is the lifeline. But that lifeline is tied to a precarious job hundreds of miles away, to exploitation, to a family that's broken apart. And it really makes you think, how do you build a stable future on a foundation that is, by its very nature, so incredibly fragile?